Hello, everyone. In Be Geeks, let's talk. And, well, folks, if you take a look at it, Top Gun, 5 weeks out, went back from number 3 to number 1. Jurassic World Dominion has dropped to number 3. Elvis came in at a respectable 30 million. Black Phone, a movie my daughter and I want to see, came in at respectable 23 million. Lightyear, look at this. 2 weeks in, 65% drop. Yeah, the movie's done. There's no hope of saving this movie. But the more interesting thing is, I want to focus on Top Gun Maverick because I originally called this the sequel nobody asked for. Now I'm calling it the sequel we all needed. Now, here's why. I'm going to kind of go through why I think this movie was so darn successful now at this particular moment. And the key thing is, folks, timing was everything. So let's take a look at the original date this was supposed to come out. We got the teaser all the way back in 2018. The movie was supposed to come out July 12th of 2019. Well, y'all remember happened during that time frame. The pandemic came out, COVID came out, lockdowns. So they postponed it multiple times till just almost 3 years later. The movie comes out Memorial Weekend, April 2022, and is an absolute phenomenal success that Hollywood somehow is actually still kind of trying to figure out. So let's go over this fact. I think this movie would have been successful in 2019. I do not think it would have been near as successful. I do not think it would have been $1 billion worldwide movie in 2019. So let's go over what was going on. When this movie was originally supposed to come out, we were still getting our regular diet of superhero movies, some kaiju movies, and then, of course, we were getting about in the wane of the woke agenda where we're getting annoyed with it, but not near as bad as the next 3 years will go. All of a sudden, the COVID comes in. Lockdowns hit all over the world. Everywhere was locking down. Well, unfortunately, what happens when you do that and 1 month turned into two turned into 3, 4, 5 years? Not 5 years, but you get what I'm saying. Some places took a lot longer. Well, we're sociable creatures, so what do people do? We start, we can only binge so much Netflix, Hulu stuff. And we're finding stuff, and you're starting to search because you're really looking for something interesting to watch. You're like, okay, is anybody talking about something good? And we were still in the era of being disappointed with a lot of people disappointed with The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. So we're not exactly geek culture's in a great place at the moment, but this is when things really start to explode. You have YouTube channels that back in 2019, had respectable numbers, some good numbers. But if you look at people like, say, The Quartering, Geeks and Gamers, Overlord DVD, Gary from Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker, we can all name a bunch of other ones. They exploded because their chat started to explode because we were getting at least some information from sources that seemed nice. We were getting some actual content from people who were like, yeah, I like this. And they were interacting with the chats and we were interacting. And that was the thing. We were socializing because humans were socialized creatures. We want to get in touch with people. People started getting inspired, making their own channels. Those people were inspiring people like me to make my own channel. Channels did moderately successful. People started cross-pollinating. Geeks and Gamers and other ones, they would get together and they would combine their YouTube channel. They would talk. Latino Slant was another one that exploded fairly well. Combined with, started working out with Midnight's Edge. Midnight's Edge, another successful YouTube channel. So there was a lot, and a lot of us talked. Some of us became friends. Some of us lost friendships and re-brought them back in. but our community really exploded and we cross-pollinated together. And for the most part, really try to have each other's back. So we took what people said from each other on ideas and stuff and discuss them and really get engaged with them. We really got to know our chat, the people we were on YouTube with, unlike say a normal TV, because they're like, hey, shoot us an emails. Depending on who they are, you might get some back. Shoot them a DM, tweet, whatever. So we had that going. So and you had 3 years of anticipation. This is the next level because people, once the trailer hit, it looked good, but then we started seeing all this behind the scenes stuff. People are talking about, oh no, this isn't CGI. This is real planes, real pilots. They did real training. We start going more and more into it. We also learn about, more people become aware of, yes, Val Kilmer is going to be a part of this movie in some way, shape, or fashion. But most people didn't know about his throat cancer that he survived it, and they actually incorporated it into the movie. I think that generated some curiosity with people. And what was the relationship going to be like with Iceman and Maverick? People started going back and watching Top Gun. People were introducing Top Gun to people who had never seen Top Gun, saying, hey, you might like this movie. There's a sequel coming out. It's set 35 years later, but this is a really good movie. That got extra people to go see it. And we're burnt out. It's like, okay, yes, it's a sequel, but it's not something you have to have 30 movie knowledges or 8 movie knowledges, or has to have a woke agenda. And I think that was really the key thing, was we all looked at it and we were kind of like, this just looks like a good, fun, entertaining movie. Opening day comes, interest is high. We know interest is high, but the predictions were blown out of the water. People go in over the weekend, and it was just word of mouth exploded like wildfire. I do a review on it on my small channel. Other people are doing big reviews. We're all talking about this movie. We're all talking about how excited we are for this movie. And we figure it's got 2 good weeks before it'll probably drop. It'll probably make number 1 the first 2 weeks, probably drop when Jurassic World, which it did. But then we have the Disney controversy also that we didn't have back in 19. But over the last few months, Disney has slowly gotten more and more like they are agenda driven. But then they really ratcheted it up with this Buzz Lightyear movie that, well, this is a movie nobody asked for. It had very little interest because it's based on the live action version of a toy character, no relation to the Toy Story franchise. So the older people who grew up on Toy Story really don't have a lot of interest in it. Kids don't have a lot of interest in it. Top Gun is getting kick-ass reviews. Jurassic World is getting somewhat decent reviews, but let's be honest, most people weren't happy with the second one, so the interest in this one's waning. It's only so far made about half of the money it made worldwide. So the interest there is waning. Also, it is the 6th part in this series that I don't think anybody really wanted those that much. Interest, sure, but I think it was more people went with other people than they were overly interested. The excitement just wasn't there. Where the excitement was still a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, because here we come, week 3, number 2 on the list, still bringing in a shit ton of money, still getting great reviews. Tom Cruise saying at the beginning of the movie, thank you for coming to see this movie in theater. We worked hard on it for you. This is for you. I've only seen that 3 times in a movie theater where that's happened. Josh Whedon with Serenity, Incredibles 2 with the cast of them, and this movie here. So it shows, I don't know him personally. I hear he's a complete total asshole and a perfectionist, but apparently he does care about what his fans want. So there was no real chance that Buzz Lightyear was going to win out. And it won second over Jurassic World, number 1 still. It moved to number 3. Week 4 rolls around. This one here, there's no A-list movies coming out. There's There was Black Phone, and there was the Elvis movie. And I wasn't sure how well the Elvis or the Black Phone movie. I figured Lightyear would probably drop down to 4 or 5 at this point. And turned out we were right. It dropped all the way down. The thing is, Top Gun moved back up to number 1 5 weeks in. When was the last time you saw a movie that once it dropped out of the number 1 spot, popped back in? I'm going to have to actually look that up. So that is what I think is why this movie was so successful. I think that so much of those factors played in. And that's why I say this movie is just simply, the timing was perfect for this movie, more now than it ever was in 2019. So that is why I think this movie has done so damn well. All right, folks, you all have a good one. I hope you enjoy this. If you did, or even if you didn't, please leave a comment. I love feedback. I love getting feedback from anyone who watches this stuff. Thank you. You all have a great Monday.